Ever have the feeling that you are being watched? What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. And welcome back to another scary story time session. Today, the topic that I have looked up stories on is scary houses. So, scary situations that have to do with the house the person lived in. So let's jump straight into it. When I was 11, we moved to this really old pre-war house, and my room was in the attic. Great at first, because it was really big. But each night when I laid down, my eyes were drawn to the opposite corner of the room. I would just stare at the wall and become really freaked out. It took me a couple of weeks to tell anyone because nothing had really ever happened. One night, I told my dad what was wrong. He went over to the wall and he banged on it. He was trying to show me that there was nothing weird about it. But on one of his bangs, it sounded slightly different, like it was board instead of brick. He investigated and found a small square board papered over flush with wall around. We pulled it off, pulled out some debris, and found a secret room. It had a small bed, and the mattress was that old that it had crumbled away. There were old papers and a tin with a football program and stuff from the 40s. Someone wanted this room forgotten about. I don't believe in ghosts or the supernatural, but that freaked us all out, and we moved a few months later. Now, I wanted to include one of the comments on this story because it's something that I found incredibly interesting, and it's something that I never thought about. If you ever have the feeling that you are being watched or someone is behind you, there's actually a scientific reason for that, apparently, according to this commenter. Your brain can subconsciously pick up on abnormalities in the air circulation of a room. That's probably why it made you feel nervous or freaked out. Differences in air pressure and the noises resulting from that probably set off an instinctual warning sign in your head. That's why people sometimes get the feeling like they're being watched. For example, imagine if you're in an empty room that you're familiar with, and then all of a sudden an object is introduced into the room. Now, logically, air circulation and pressure are going to change to compensate for the new object, right? That's where this eerie sensation comes from. When the brain is comfortable and relaxed, it lets its guard down. But when something unfamiliar is introduced to a familiar situation that you're unaware of, your brain will say, hey dude, something isn't quite right, be careful. So I think while that also does take a little bit of pressure off a situation where you're feeling like you're being watched, I definitely think the feeling of being watched and the gut feeling that you get when your body tells you to be careful is something that you should listen to, because this theory doesn't exactly explain that feeling away as being completely safe. It's just saying that a new object has been introduced into the room, and that object could be somebody watching you. The next two stories are quite short but still scary, and then the last one is very scary. So this next one has to do with animals. I lived with roommates in a crappy house. My roommates had 3 dogs that would poop in the basement if they got down there, so we just kept the door closed. I heard them going down the steps, so I go to the door and call down to them in the darkness. I don't hear the Nails dogs on the floor, so I go down there and I go to the landing. I turn the lights on, and all 3 dogs are tensely looking at the wall and not moving. I say, get up here, and they all come back upstairs. I close and latch the door, and I go back to my business. Shortly after, I hear them going back down the basement stairs. I give chase, and I click on the light to find them in the exact same spot, staring at the wall again, not moving. I have no idea how they got the door to open, especially considering that I had latched it, and also, what the hell was up with them and that wall? I think if the next story happened to me, I would probably, I wouldn't be in that house ever again. I would literally never step foot in that house ever again. When I was about 10 or 11, okay, so this person can't just move out of their house. All right. When I was just about 10 or 11, I was home alone, just sitting in the living room watching TV. This is a very tiny house, by the way, so everything was in eyesight from the living room. So as I'm just chilling, watching some daytime PBS because it was too early for afternoon cartoons, all of the doorknobs, all of them. My aunt's door, my bedroom door, the bathroom door, and the door that led out back, and the door that led into the garage. All of them started turning. And I'm talking about really turning back and forth. It only lasted about 10 seconds, but I proceeded to shit my pants and cry. Again, if this next story happened, I don't even know why the roommate came back, but that's just my opinion on it. I would not come back to this house. You let me know what you would do. I mean, I know it's pretty hard to get out of leases and stuff, but girl, I'd be living on a street. I lived in a house that I am entirely convinced was haunted. It's not necessarily one event that led me to believe this, but rather an accumulation of instances that made me never want to step foot in there again. To begin with, the house itself was entirely creepy. It was built in the early 1900s and was run down. The first thing we noticed was that there were bolt locks on all of the outsides of the doors. The bathrooms, the upstairs bedrooms, and the basement door all had either a bolt lock or a latch that could lock someone inside of the rooms. Secondly, there was a hatch in the ceiling of my boyfriend and my bedroom. On the night of the move, we decided to drink and explore the hatch, making jokes about finding bodies in the attic. Surprise! There were 2 hidden rooms up there, complete with creepy children's drawings on the walls. The weird thing about these rooms was that the only way to get up there was by a standard ladder. But it was very clear that the people had been living up there. Thirdly, while searching the house, we found a large, old framed black and white picture of a baby. For the first month of living there, every single morning, I would wake up at around 3 a.m. and hear movement in the attic. Now, we all know that 3 a.m. is the devil's hour, but this person didn't say it in their story, but just FYI, I'm pretty sure that is the hour that you don't want to be awake. Anyways, I would hear scratching, thudding, or what sounded like footsteps. One morning, I would wake up as usual, but I didn't hear anything. Suddenly, I hear what sounds like someone running from one side of the attic to the other, and then I heard a door slam. Nobody else in the house seemed to hear any of these noises, but this instant effed with me so much that I started taking sleeping pills so that I wouldn't wake up at 3 a.m. I did this because I was going to school and I didn't have a job, so I spent a lot of time in the house. After a while, I came to realize that the attic was not the worst part of the house, but the kitchen where the door to the basement was. I would be home alone and come downstairs to find the cabinets and the pantry door open. A couple of times I came downstairs to find the basement door, which had a bolt lock on it, wide open. It got to the point where I would not hang around downstairs after the sun went down, and I would absolutely never go into the kitchen after 10 p.m. I started to leave all the cabinet doors open, so when they moved around and I was home alone, I wouldn't notice. No one in my house believed that there was anything wrong until one day I came home to find a new bolt lock on the pantry door. I later found out that my roommate had been home alone one day doing laundry and was upstairs. She heard a loud thud. Apparently, she came downstairs and the pantry door was wide open, and her laundry, which was originally in the side room of the kitchen, which is nowhere near the pantry, was thrown about the kitchen. She ended up grabbing her things and left the house for an entire week. And the absolute creepiest thing that happened to me while in that house was when I had to go into the basement after I blew a fuse. The door to the fuse box was on the floor, so I'm standing there trying to match up all these fuses when all of a sudden I get this feeling that I've never felt before and haven't felt since. All the hair on my body stood on edge at the same time, and I was covered in goosebumps. I can't even begin to describe what it felt like. I noped the F out of there, and I didn't even reset the fuse. This house seriously effed with my head and ended up messing with me on a real personal level. It might not sound creepy typed out, but living with this on a daily basis started driving me insane. I once asked the landlord if the house was haunted, and he started laughing it off, saying, "I don't believe in that stuff. The mind is a powerful thing. But the woman who lived here before you guys was convinced that it was." Listen. When I first moved into this house that I'm living in now, I was extremely worried that there would be some negative energy here, or even just some paranormal activity, because my room, which is this interesting kind of room, it's got almost like a cafeteria style window that faces the sunroom. So I can see out of this window that shows into another room. Anyways, on the windowsill to this window, and I haven't touched it, it's still there, is the Holy Bible. And when I first saw this, because when I came to inspect the house, I never saw it because it was hidden by curtains, and I didn't go through all the curtains when I was thinking about moving in. But when I moved in and I saw it, I all of a sudden just got so scared. I was like, I hope this place is not haunted. I started thinking, like, why would there be a Bible here? I started trying to play it off thinking, oh my God, you know, it's probably just like some older person who was religious. But then I was like, what if there's a Bible here because whoever lived here before was trying to warn off spirits? So honestly, I feel quite safe in this house. I've moved the Bible slightly so I can open the window and close the curtains, but the Bible stays where it is. I have no intention on throwing the Bible out just in case, and I feel safe in this house. Nothing weird has happened. If any of the stuff like this ever happened, I would seriously be breaking my lease, and even if it drove me completely broke, I would go live in my car. Anyways, you guys, that is all for today. If you like these kinds of videos, give it a thumbs up because it tells me that you would like to see more of these. I also do a True Crime Sunday every single Sunday, and I also do story times once a week. I'm starting to tell other people's story time. So if you've got an experience that you would like me to turn into a story time that will be kept anonymous, submit your story time through email at submitstorytime@gmail.com. Be sure to include all the screenshots, photos, or whatever. Just make sure names and faces are crossed out, and I look forward to reading about your experience. Also, I would love to have you on my team, so if you like my vibe, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.